The Big 12 championship game, Arizona-Houston. Houston Cougars, and he's asking about Arizona, but the Houston Cougars every year go into the tournament as one of the only 2 or 3 teams, top 10 efficiency in Ken Palm in both offense and defense, slow half-court tempo, and they always seem to come up short. Is this year going to be any different, and what are your thoughts on this game?
Well, I mean, their ability to knock down threes this year, meaning Houston, is much different than in past years. I mean, you're talking about a team hitting over 38% of their three-point shots this year within conference, too. So that's the big telling factor for me when it comes to Houston in terms of their chances of making a very deep run, if not winning it all, compared to the teams that fell short in years past. So anyway, in this particular matchup against Arizona, I don't like the side in this game. I just think that number is extremely sharp. And I'm going to stay away from that, but I am going to look at the total of 135. And you guys were talking, you and the Greek there were talking about, ways to look at and perceive totals. And you look at this total and you look at 135 and you look at Arizona's first 2 games of this tournament, 88-77 and 86-80, yet we're sitting here at 135. Well, there's a good reason for that. And Steve made some points right up front. I mean, Houston's number 2 nationally in defensive efficiency, number 1 within Big 12 play. They're also number 360 out of 366 Division I teams when it comes to offensive tempo, which you also touched upon, Steve. And that, and then they're number 1 in offensive rebounding. So on many occasions, Houston takes, pretty close to a minute in one possession because of they're able to get multiple possessions. I know that sounds like an oxymoron, but because of the offensive rebounding, they don't play at a fast pace, and they could take as much as a minute off per offensive possession because of that. If Houston does have a weakness, it's their three-point defense, Steve. But, Arizona, only 32.4% in conference play, and they're 13th in the Big 12 in three-point attempts. And I like this game to go under the total. These teams played at Arizona earlier this season. Houston came away with a 62-58 win. And again, I think a lot of bettors are going to look at, like I just alluded to earlier, Arizona's first 2 games, the scores, Houston's ability to knock down threes and think they're getting a steal by going over 135. I beg to differ. I'm going to go under 135 in this game, Steve.
Yeah, I'm never going to talk you off a Houston under or an Alabama over like we talked about earlier with Gianni. That's kind of once again, I use everything as a filter. That's my initial short list, right? And you're hardly ever finding a reason to go the other way. And also, it's a conference final. I think it should have a playoff atmosphere, which brings a little more defensive intensity usually in these games. So we'll see what happens. That is the Big 12 championship game tonight between Houston and Arizona. That's at 6 p.m. Eastern. Currently, Houston about a 6-point favorite. Totals around 135. Dipped a little bit from the opener. So my point is, I'm kind of glad Clemson got bumped. Instead, we've got Louisville, who is also a dangerous team. They beat Clemson this year. And, of course, the big news, Cooper Flagg out for Duke. Not expected to play today. We'll see if he's available for the tournament. I think Duke was as good as anybody in the country. If he's not there, I don't think they are anymore. I faded them last night with UNC. Never in doubt. UNC was down 21 at the half. But it makes sense, right? It was a full game play, not a first half play for a reason, because Duke came out with a little bit of energy, as I thought they might without their superstar. But it did catch up to them. Really curious to see your take on Duke here now against Louisville tonight in the championship game.
Yeah, and it's not like going back to Clemson real quickly. It's not like it was a bad loss. They lost to a Louisville team that's won 20 of their last 21 games. So, yeah, a no Cooper Flagg for today. That's certainly going to be a factor. We saw it rear its ugly head down the stretch, as Steve just mentioned. Yeah, 24-point lead with a little over 16 minutes to play. And if not for a lane violation, Duke was very lucky to come away with a 3-point win in that contest. But in any event, in a big game like this, when you're losing your leading scorer, leading rebounder, and leading assist guy in Cooper Flagg against a team that's going to be playing with revenge, because Louisville faced Duke in their ACC opener and they lost that game by 11 on their home floor. And Cooper Flagg had 20 points and 7 rebounds in that game, was a major difference. And since that loss, like I touched upon, Louisville's won 20 of their next 21 games. So Duke is to me, a shorthanded Duke team that already has a regular season title and already has, they're a virtual lock for a #1 seed in the NCAA tournament. Not a lot to play for in terms of, desperation and urgency. Louisville, on the other hand, you talk about where they were last year compared to this year, Steve. They're going to be really inspired against a big name program like Duke in an ACC final. And the Cardinals are 3-0 straight up in 3-0 straight up in ATS this year, when coming off a straight up dog win like they did yesterday. They defeated Clemson as a 2.5-point dog, and in those 3 wins and covers, they won by 15.3 points per game. And so it proves to me that this is a team, when coming off an upset win, doesn't lose their emotion. They don't have an emotional letdown. And again, I would think that would be even more the case in a conference tournament game. So I like the underdog here. I think there's a lot of value here. I wouldn't be shocked to see an outright upset, but I'm not going to get greedy, Steve. And I hope the viewers wouldn't as well if they follow my advice and take Louisville +6 against Duke.
So I'll tell you where we've seen some sharp money in this game, Ross. Looking at the live odds screen here, it's opened the total. The side opened 6.5. It's down to 6 now. We've seen a little bit of money on Louisville. The total, though, opened 142.5. It's now up to 147. The sharper leading indicator books, 147.5, even a 148 starting to show. So the sharp money is on the over here in the Duke-Louisville game. That goes contrary to what we just talked about, right? About conference championship games usually being more unders. Cooper Flagg, one of the most important offensive players in the nation, is out. What's your take on that total moving higher? It's a little surprising.
I think that the 142.5 going to 148, it's a huge overcompensation by the books. I think there's some value in going the other way now, going to the under. So yes, I mean at 142.5, even if it went to 143, 144, and seeing more money on the under, a reverse line move, for example, I would say yes. You know, with Cooper Flagg out, why is this number going up? But a 6-point move is a huge move, Steve. You know, and it's just like the Greeks said. You're almost better off if you like the over to wait to close the game time, because you might get a huge buyback, especially from those gentlemen who bet over. I mean, that's a huge middle. If you got down early and you come back the other way to try, with some of your money, not all of your money, to go under. So that's a confusing one to me, but one I certainly wouldn't play the over at that high of a number right now.
Ross, what else you got going on at WagerTalk.com?
Yeah, those free pick videos, by the way, in college basketball on WagerTalk TV, 16-8 with my last 24. So make sure you tune in on a daily basis. I'll have something for you, especially through the tournament, in tournament action, whether it be the NIT, CBI, NCAA, or any other three-letter tournament that's out there. But anyway, on a 9-3 run in college basketball over the last 4 days. So things are going well there. The NBA been going really well since last year, Steve, up over 79 units in the NBA, which is #1 in terms of units earned during that course of time in the NBA. Last year, NCAA tournament, folks, 22-14, 61%, and winning over 28 units, and that was good for #2 at WagerTalk. So 179 will get you the rest of the college basketball season right now from yours truly, and that takes you right through the tournament championship game, NCAA tournament championship game. In the NBA, folks, I know the tournament's going on, it's March Madness, but there's still 3 months left in the NBA season when you count the NBA finals going into mid-June. So take advantage of my NBA, because I'm doing very well in the NBA over the last year. And you can check out all my hot streaks, wt.buzz/RB, wt.buzz/RB, WagerTalk.buzz/RB, all confirmed and verified by WagerTalk.